right, well, I am going to get started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ellie Garrity. I am the manager of alumni career programs with the University of Maryland's Alumni Association. We're excited that you're able to join us for today's webinar, How to Win the House, Buying a Home in Today's Competitive Market. This webinar is brought to you in partnership with the Alumni Association's new sponsor, Cross Country Mortgage, and features Alex McKenna, loan officer with Cross Country Mortgage, as well as TERP alumnus Craig Northrup, CEO and founder of Northrup Realty. A few housekeeping items before we begin. This event is being recorded, so I ask that you stay on mute throughout the duration of the event, but feel free to submit your questions through the chat function located at the bottom of your Zoom panel, and our presenters will leave about 15 minutes at the end to answer any questions that you may have. Now, a little bit about Alex before I turn it over to him. Alex McKenna is a leading loan officer with Cross Country Mortgage and enjoys working with all types of clients, from first-time home buyers to experienced home buyers. Purchasing, refinancing, or renovating, salaried or self-employed, he's got the loan for all of the TERPs. So I'm going to turn it over to Alex for him to get things started and tell us a little bit more about himself. Go ahead, Alex.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Ellie, and thank you all for being here this afternoon. My name is Alex McKenna. I work with Cross Country Mortgage, and I'm incredibly excited to bring this presentation to you. Incredibly excited for our partnership with the University of Maryland Alumni Association. So without further ado, let's get started on how to win the house, buying a home in a competitive market. Now, like I've said, my name is Alex McKenna. I am a loan officer with Cross Country Mortgage. Cross Country Mortgage is one of the largest non-bank mortgage lenders in the United States. We're licensed in all 50 states, and my branch itself is located all across the state of Maryland. We're a ragtag group of about 7 loan officers, ranging as far west as Middletown, Maryland, to as far east as Annapolis. So we've got some really great geographic diversity, and I am incredibly excited that we have Craig Northrup, the president and CEO of Northrup Realty, on the call with us here this afternoon to help bring us a lot of information on the real estate buyer's agent, listing agent side of things. Craig, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, sorry. Thanks, Alex. I appreciate that. Craig Northrup, Northrup Realty. We have 14 offices that are in the state of Maryland and Delaware. Actually moved into Delaware as well. And I'm a huge TERP. Got my coin right here. I always say, I do a lot of TERP relocations, and and of course, the valid question we're going to talk about today is, in this competitive market, everybody wants to know, how can I win a house and all of that. And of course, it's going to start with the mortgage side, and Alex will talk a lot about that. And then we're going to talk from the real estate side. I've got my partner, Rich Phillips, is going to jump in, and he's that Maryland connector as well, and guide us on how strategies of literally, we've sold on the buy side. We're very, very successful in getting our contracts. We're averaging 25 contracts a day right now, getting through, and and on the sales side, 650.
Looks like Craig might have frozen. Maybe we'll give him a minute to come back to us. Alex, do you want to move forward and we can see if we can connect with Craig?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Craig does have his coworker Rich on the call this afternoon, so in case something happens with Craig's connection, I'm sure Rich will definitely be able to
be glad to.
Fantastic. All right. So a little bit more about Cross Country Mortgage. We are, like I said earlier, one of the largest non-bank lenders in the United States. What this means is that we don't have checking accounts, savings accounts. Our bread and butter, what we do best, is originate mortgages, and we are very good at it. We have over 6,500 employees nationwide. We are licensed in all 50 states, including Alaska and Hawaii. We have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, along with a 5-star rating from Zillow. So those are some very exciting credentials. Now, a little bit more about the partnership that we have here with the University of Maryland Alumni Association. We have brought a discount to the Alumni Association where every graduate of the University of Maryland can get a mortgage receiving up to $2,198 off of their closing costs. Now, this discount is a form of a lender credit that is equal to the processing, underwriting, appraisal, credit report, and flood certification fees. So in the state of Maryland, that works out to $2,198 on the nose, while in some other states, depending on the statutory cost of an appraisal, that can range from about $2,000 on the low end to about $2,198. So this benefit does apply to all graduates and their family members, everything ranging from a first-time home buyer all the way up to an experienced real estate investor. You can include it with down payment assistance. It's great for self-employed borrowers as well. So really just a great mortgage benefit. And you can find us on the Alumni Association website under the benefits section. Now, a quick word about interest rates before we get into how to win the house. Interest rates are at near historic lows. There has been a general downward trend since late 2018, and they reached an all-time low early this year, thanks to the Federal Reserve purchase of mortgage-backed securities, which was largely expanded due to coronavirus relief. So since then, they've kind of dangled at that all-time low, jumping around a little bit. They're a little bit higher as of today, but rates are still incredibly favorable for refinance and renovation loans. And when you have a great team around you, rates are fantastic for purchase loans as well. So what we're going to be talking about here this afternoon is really about making an offer on a home that you are already interested in. So you found a home. We're going to talk about how you can beat out all of the other offers that are on the table and make sure your offer stands out the most. Now, this is going to range from small things, personal touches that your loan officer and that your buyer's agent can make to help your offer stand out, to more complex insider secrets, things like appraisal waiver contingencies, paying the seller's transfer and recordation taxes. But what we're really going to be focusing on, and the main overall theme of this presentation, is that we are a team. The buyer, the loan officer, and the real estate agent all come together to form this fantastic team that communicates within itself and make sure that your offer is cultivated with your best interest at heart, and to make sure that it stands out in the eyes of the seller. So first thing I want to touch on is that working with a local loan officer is incredibly important. I have a phone that is full of contacts of real estate agents. Sometimes I wish it was more friends, but it is mostly real estate agents. Whenever one of my buyers puts in an offer, I always pick up the phone, call the seller's agent, go, hey, you should have an offer on 123 Main Street on your desk for Jim and Jill Smith. And I just want to talk to you real quick about how qualified they are, how great their documents look, how much they love the house, they love the decor. They're incredibly excited about this. Now, not only does that phone call, one, talk about your qualification, talk about your interest in the house, but it also opens up the line of communication between the seller's agent and between our team, the buyer's team. So they know that the loan officer is incredibly responsive, that the loan officer is incredibly interested in your file, and that you're incredibly well qualified. So a lot of larger financial institutions lack that kind of personal touch that will really, really help your offer stand out. So second thing, and probably one of the most important things that I'm going to talk about on this call, is what's called a fast track pre-qualification. Now, there is a very large difference in the words pre-approval and pre-qualification. Now, when we start talking and I ask you for some documents, I ask you how much money you make, how much money you have saved up, all that fun stuff, I'm going to be getting a lot of documents from you. Pay stubs, W-2s, bank statements. And that is when I would issue what's called a pre-approval. I will go, hey, you're qualified in this area up to X amount of dollars, based on things like property taxes and homeowners association fees. Now, the important next step is whether or not I submit your file off to my underwriting department. Now, My underwriter is going to be the one eventually making the final credit call, the final qualification call on whether or not you qualify for a home. Now, when I get all of your documentation, I have the ability to take that documentation, put it in front of my underwriter, have my underwriter give it a big old check mark, clear all the credit conditions, and issue what's called a pre-qualification. Now, this comes with what's called an initial commitment, which means, hey, we are committed to lending you a certain amount of dollars as long as you buy within a certain purchase price. So this, when you submit an offer with a pre-qualification, this shows a lot of things to the seller. One, it shows there are going to be no issues with your financing. It's going to show your financing is almost as good as cash. You know, it's already in the bag. And then it will also show that your loan file has moved farther down the pipeline than a lot of the competing offers. It's going to show, hey, not only are they pre-approved, they're pre-qualified. They have an initial commitment. We've cleared all the credit conditions. And as a result, we can close significantly sooner than any other institution. Now, if you go to a large financial institution, they'll often tell you they need 45 to 60 days to be able to close your loan. Now, normally we need about 30 days. Now, when we have a fast track pre-qualification, we've already cleared all your credit conditions. The only thing we're really waiting for is a sales contract and an appraisal. So depending on how busy the appraisal is, we can close your loan in 10 days. It's that simple. And that shows the seller's agent that, hey, we can get this house sold that much quicker than any of the other competing offers. And that will make your offer stand out so much. All right, and one of the last things I'm going to touch on here is the insider's edge that a local loan officer can provide. Now, one of the great things about being local to the state of Maryland and areas of Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, with local loan officer branches across the country, is that we are always available. We are always on call for our borrowers. Instead of working, a standard 9 to 5 and only available via phone calls, within those hours, Monday through Friday, when you go see a house on a Saturday afternoon, you get out of that open house and you go, hey, I love it. I want to buy it. Let's put in an offer. Because things are moving super quick these days. I want to put in an offer. I want to do it today. You can call me up and I'll have the pre-approval or pre-qualification letter in your email inbox within the hour. That way you have everything you need to move quickly and be able to go under contract on that house. Not only that, like I said, it's very easy to contact a local loan officer, and we can talk about things like the appraised value of the home, appraisal contingencies, what the difference is between the appraised value and the purchase price, and how that can affect your offer. That way you know exactly what's going on at every point in the purchase process before it even happens. And I think a more informed buyer is a happier buyer. They know what's going on, they're bought into the process, and they are able to close on a new home purchase. Now, I'm not sure if Craig is back online, so I'm probably going to be handing this off to Rich.
Actually, Craig is just joining us, so I'll give him a minute to settle back in. And Rich knows more than I do, but I think there was an internet outage. Zoom always tries to trick us, even hopefully in the end of our Zoom times. But go ahead, Rich, and I'm sure Craig will.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry.
No worries. Welcome back, Craig.
It was all internet.
All right, Craig. So here is your first slide in the presentation whenever you're ready.
Look at that timing.
Timing's perfect.
One of the things that you need to make sure you're dealing with when you're trying to win an offer is an all-the-time agent, not a part-time agent, not a full-time agent, an all-the-time agent. I say that because ultimately an all-the-time agent knows the market, knows what's going on, what it's going to take. So very important. When let's just say I've identified, we're going to talk about identifying a house first, right? So when we identify a house that you love, then we want to make sure we want to know what's best for the seller. Basically the goal of winning an offer is to interpret the needs of the seller better than any other agent representing their buyers, right? So first we need to know a certain settlement date. We need to know if, how long they want to stay in the property. One of the things there is you can only do a rent back up to about 60 days, where some sellers, want to stay a little longer. But a lot of times everybody's kind of forced into school right now, school time. So buyers traditionally want to be, settle at the end of July. At this point, probably the quickest, and then rent back at least for 30 days. I recommend a free rent back in this market so that the seller, feels like they're certainly getting some extra value. As is inspections. I recommend inspections. I do not recommend you waive inspections. Very important to know that in that way, because I think it's, it's a risk factor if you do it without inspections, because I go behind a lot of houses I have to sell and they don't do inspections prior to when they bought them. And then there's a lot of issues. So I highly recommend doing it. Do it as is. And a lot of houses you're buying have what they call HOAs. So it's really what I do is I box that in with the 5 days they have a right to, you have a right to get out for the HOA contingencies. So if you match the same times, then by right, you could get out by just the HOA contingency or a review of the HOA docs, which most neighborhoods have. So again, 5 days on the as is, no financial contingency if you can qualify, and that's what goes back to the lender conversations. And then another way to for buyers to pay the seller's transfer taxes and dock stamps is a way to give the seller a little more net without putting it on the price, because appraisals become an issue when you start going up that way ultimately, because again, you have to sell it to two people, the buyer and the bank, if you need to get a loan, sorry. And so all of this needs to align in what the seller's needs are, and it's just another way to give them net. Sellers care about bottom line. Free rent backs is their bottom line. Buyers transfer taxes and dock stamps are bottom line. Rich, any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, I mean, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. So yes, just a tag, basically, as Craig said, generally we sit down with the buyer from the very beginning. We do a wonderful buyer's presentation to lay all this out so they know going into the purchase process what it takes to win in this market. So we don't do it to scare the buyer. We literally just want them to know that we have every option in our arsenal and to educate our buyers. Our buyers are so important to us. We also sell a lot of homes from the listing side. So we take what we do from our listing side and we see offer contracts every day from people that, we can show them the good and bad. We never share names or, the addresses or anything like that, but we can basically say, hey, this person really lost out for their client because they did this, this, and this. And we're going to show you how to structure to win. At the end of the day, as Craig said, we're not asking you to waive inspections and things like that. There are some things that we're going to just give you options for and tell you and educate you. I just wanted to announce this too. We didn't announce it earlier, but because of the Maryland Alumni Association, this opportunity to work together, the Northrop team and myself, we're going to give every buyer a 1-year home warranty as well. So to give you a peace of mind that you're walking into a property that will cover your HVAC, your plumbing, things that might come up. And, there's never been a better time because rentals right now cost more than actually purchasing. So once in a lifetime opportunity here. And Alex can talk about this later, but there's great programs to help you get in the home that even will pay off some student loan debt. So if you are still paying off loans, Alex can get into that. So.
Excellent. Great wrap on that, Rich. So let's keep going. So now we've got them all set. We know everything it's going to take from the seller's standpoint, from the seller's agent standpoint of what the seller's needs are. And of course, we would cater that to Rich's points of, advising you. What you choose to do is up to you. Our goal as buyer agency is to represent your interest, period. And there is no cost to that. The seller does pay our fee in that way. But then once we got that, what helps? What are some of the sort of the tricks and trades of getting offers through? And, as you find, when we have multiple offers, 10, 15, whatever it is, we always find there's only two really good offers, well written. And a lot of it has to do with the agents that are writing them. And so here we are with making a higher earnest money deposit, possibly non-refundable. I recommend just earnest money deposits. They are your money. You are secured with your contingencies. You have a couple of contingencies, as we said, the as-is inspections, the HOA docs are two of the biggest ones. And then, of course, the financial contingency, depending on whether you, waive that or not. Offer more than appraised value, including the dollar amount above appraised value that you can pay. So what that means really is that a lot of times, let's just say you feel that, you're willing to pay $20,000 over the appraised value. I highly recommend that you raise your earnest money deposit up $20,000 more to show that seller in good faith, A, you're serious, and B, that you have that additional $20,000 to pay, because if it does underappraise, you got to come up with that money. So very important to do that there. And it's a really great security. The seller wants they want security right now. They want to know that you can get this through the process. They're very, very cautious about that, especially in multiple offers, because guess what? You only got that one chance. I mean, I do recommend sellers to take the backup offers as well. I also recommend buyers to sign backup offers as well too. So include a solid lender letter, where Alex comes in on that. Insurance, including assurances that the lender can meet the seller's preferred settlement dates, accommodate free rent backs, things like that. And again, as I already talked about, the inspections 5-day as is to match the automatic HOA contingencies. Rich, any follow up on this one?
I mean, you pretty much covered it there. Really, to sum it up in a whole, is that we're trying to give the seller peace of mind, as Craig said. And basically, as it says, it really comes down to 2 or 3 offers. We're trying to make sure that we don't have anything in there that would alarm them. And really, it would basically be like, why wouldn't we accept your offer?
And no question. I mean, that's what I always say. I always say this: I'm going to make the seller's eyes water, right? Because it's going to be that good. It's going to be like, oh my gosh. And that's one thing we pride in Northrop Realty, is that we write good offers and we get the houses for our clients.
Yeah.
Sure
I had a listing agent the other day compliment us and say, wow, your team has done such a good job of putting not only a respectful offer together, but we could tell that there was a lot of thought and process put together, and they won, this home for your client. So that came from another agent for our team. That was amazing.
Right. So one of the things, as we get to the next slide here, is a lot of people are buying houses to win the offer sometimes, and not really to own it. And I say that because, they get this house and they're like, oh, wow, I got it. Didn't expect to get it, possibly. So backup offers. Being a backup offer, I got to say, I've been doing this business for 35 years, born and raised in this whole area, all my life. And so this is the first time in my career. It's the second best market in my career, but really it's the first time I've ever gotten more backup offers through. So, and it's very important to do that. You can still, it's still negotiable with the seller. You get all the terms done and you sign it, and there's an addendum that says backup offer. It really does work. So please be a backup. Again, it's been a really, really good thing in these kind of competitive markets. You end up winning the house. If it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. We're the meant to be realtor and the meant to be broker for you. That's the kind of conversations we're seeing a little bit there, that a lot of these other buyers are buying it just to tie the property up, not really sure if they know it or want it, and the backups are winning. So highly recommend this. Rich, any on that thoughts?
Yes, I mean, just to tag off your point, I mean, as Northrop Realty, we're never going to want to win the home more than you. We're going to point blank ask you, do you want this house? And we will make it happen for you. Now, we can't guarantee every single win, but we're winning more contracts by any other, real estate company out there in Maryland right now, because that we ask these questions and we know the tips and tricks to basically, make sure that we're looking out for you best. And that does not mean you're giving up everything, there's more than that, and just asking questions. We have great relationships with other listing agents, and that goes a huge long way. Just like with Alex being a local lender, you have a local real estate company that has 14 offices across the area. People know us. They know when our people are putting in offers, they're going to deliver. So that's super important.
Yes. And then the last piece of the conversation is this thing called an escalation clause. We'll go to the next slide here. And that one is, people don't understand this, and I respect why you don't understand this escalation clause. People say, well, I don't want to overpay for the house, or I don't want to pay more than somebody else would pay, because value is really what you're willing to spend. You can have $1 million baseball card, but no one's willing to spend $1 million. It's not worth it. So value is what a buyer's willing to spend and a seller's willing to sell for, right? So that's the combination. Well, an escalation clause says this. An escalation clause says, I'll pay you, and I'm to my point, $5,000 increments. I'll pay you $5,000 over the best offer you end up getting, Mr. Seller. And so with that understood, you're willing to pay. Now, a lot of times escalation clauses, almost all the time in my career, we've had caps on that. So let's just say it's a $600,000 house and we have 5 offers. And so hypothetically, I have a buyer that's willing to spend $650, but you know what? They don't want to lose it if it went to $675. So they'll say, look, I'll write you an offer for 650, but I'll escalate with $5,000 increments up to 675,000. So let's just say they all came in at 650, my buyer would win at 655, right? So that's the advantage of an escalation clause. It's paying over the other offer. You will have a right to see that front page so that you will not be paying more than anybody else would be paying. So that's the escalation theory of protection, that you're not going to overpay for the property. Now, the new thing that's been introduced that's never happened, this is the first time I've ever had it in my career, is no cap. Now, what's the risk factor of no cap? If I said 650 with $5,000 increments and put no cap to it, that means that the seller has to, or excuse me, the seller's agent's got to call me back and say, if your buyer wants this, it could cost you 680. Would your buyer want it? And it becomes a counter. And then I can do my buyer can decide if they want a seat at the table and buy this house at 680,000. Again, it's just another way in this market to compete and to get the last word of whether you would want to buy the house or not. You're not obligated with a no cap, because at that point, it's a counter. So I only share these as an escalation because people get concerned, but a great thing that came out of this market in ideas. Rich, any follow up on that?
Yeah, great point. And that basically, there's a property that you don't want to let get away. And, Craig and I, we're talking about, all different price ranges. We can change the increments and up and down scales. Obviously he threw in there the 5,000 increments because it really says, hey, I'm being serious. I want this house more than others. And, sellers usually will sit back and like, wow, they really want the home. Everything else they've done such a great job of explaining. And then, as Craig said, he's seen more backup offers being accepted. Unfortunately, we're seeing some buyers make promises with these higher escalations, and they don't have anything to back it up. So we're doing steps that doesn't make sure that doesn't happen for us as a primary position. We're showing the seller either its bank account or financial statement or something to say, by the way, we have the means to do this and we're not messing around. So, some agents, are getting scared because they don't have buyers that are willing to back things up. We obviously are going to be side by side with you and Alex and making sure that we do everything you need to show, to get you the property.
Sounds fantastic. And then the goal is to win it, right? Use the team to win it, right? And that's the combination of conversation that, the number one goal for us as Northrop Realty and Rich to guide you home is to help you buy the home, right? I mean, the first goal is you win the home. But it does require lending, great lenders. It does require communicating frequently and clearly to keep each other and you up to date, so that not only from the lending side, but from the real estate side. So that's why it's kind of like the connector between Alex and Rich Phillips, where they really got to work together to get everything set, respond quickly to information from counter offers to home inspection surprises. You need the agent all the way through the process. Even though you won the house, you get to be excited, right? It's almost like, you got the house, but we got to make sure that there's no issue with the home inspections. We got to make sure that there's no title issues. We got to help you make sure that, that we do a walkthrough and then we get you the settlement successfully. And the lender helps you with making sure you have enough money to close and guide you through the lending process and, all that, and then gets the appraisal ordered and all of that side. So again, availability and communication are certainly the keys, and make sure again, you have an all the time agent helping you, because there's such a difference in this market where I don't believe a lot of these part-time agents really are going to help you navigate this incredible journey of getting a house in this kind of market, period. And that's the thoughts. Rich, any takeaway from that?
Yeah, just to kind of tag what Alex talked about earlier, the difference between a local lender and an 800 number lender, just like we are an all the time agent, we're there for you. Alex is also an all the time, mortgage lender. And, there's some companies out there, I won't mention any other names, and some of them are credit unions and they offer great benefits for other things. But guess what, guys? Most of the time, Alex and I, we're focused on writing offers on Saturdays and Sundays, and those 800 numbers, they're not answering the phones. So when we need updated material or things like that from a buyer's agent, it's the most frustrating thing. And that affects you, the buyer. Like, this is not about me. This is about you, the buyer. We're trying to help you buy your first home, second home, an investment property, beach home, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you have a local lender, you have a local agent working all the time. And in this market, you need somebody that's working around the clock for you, and it's in communication. They're not, we all have families and we're all busy. It doesn't mean that, it's not like we're giving up other opportunities there, but it's really important to work with a team that's working for you and not basically just not communicative and not being available.
Absolutely. And again, I always say we treat, Northrop Realty treats the Turp family like they're our own, and we would only guide you the way that we would want to be guided. We take that passion and exciting. I use a fun story here. I walked into a house, in the seller's house, and this little boy, I don't know the exact age, but let's just say the 7 or 8 range. He goes, hey, and the parents are like, my son's been waiting all day for you to come into my home. And I said, great. He said, he wants to show you his room. And I'm like, is that okay if I go see the room before I see the whole house? And he goes, yeah, go ahead up. So we go upstairs to this room. It's a beautiful aquarium. I said, oh, so nice. So nice. And he goes, no. Look down that corner. There's a Turp turtle. When he thinks of the Terps, he thinks of you. I mean, it's 7 years old. The kid is thinking Terps, baby. I'm pretty sure he's already probably 14 by now. So I think he's getting ready for colleges in the future. Anyway, fun stuff. We love working with University of Maryland, College Park. Proud to be an alma mater. And I really, want to stress the fact that, we're going to take great care of you. I can assure you that. And Rich really is that connector for that. Alex certainly can bring you home on the lending side there. And any other slides there? What's next? With that. Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit, Alex, back on some of your differences, but ideally from the Northrop Realty side of things and just the alliance, I always say actually on my patio right here, I've got the Turp turtle that was on Comcast Center that everyone rubbed their nose. And yes, I rub it every day. So I am one of them big Turp guys and passionate about taking great care of all of our Turp alumni family. From Rich and myself, we thank you for the opportunity to go over this. And again, every situation is different. So what we just gave you is an overview of what could work. It doesn't mean it works, for everyone, because every situation is different. Every house is different. Every agent, could be different. So again, I give you the premise of that, but more importantly, I just want to say, first thing, pick up the phone, call Rich, call Alex, and certainly in this market, you have about 30 days left in our markets in the state of Maryland for schools to get in by schools. You have about 30 days to identify that real house of choice. And exciting news is that we have about 70 houses coming on the market this week. So it's showing you more inventories coming up, which I know a lot of people are worn out. Like, I'm waiting. Well, good news is Northrop Realty's got your solution with 70 houses coming on the market this week. So Alex, I turn it back over to you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk and to kind of show you what Northrop Realty can do for you.
Thank you so much, Craig. That was fantastic. That was a lot of information and incredibly helpful. I think it is very important to stress, communication. At the end of the day, we're all a team. We've got the same goal to help get you a house. And communication is the way that we make that happen. When it comes from being available all the time, not just 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, but Saturday, Sunday, to help get you the offer. And then after you're under contract, to help get you through the loan process. So it's incredibly important. Really want to stress that communication. And I think that was fantastic. Thank you so much, Greg.
My pleasure.
So I want to talk a little bit more about the cross-country mortgage difference. So I stressed a lot about, our fast track, our availability, how we can help you get the house. Now I want to talk a little bit more about how this applies to University of Maryland alumni. Now, all University of Maryland alumni that use the $2,198 discount towards closing costs, every single one of those loans is either going to be originated by myself or my co-account manager, Kaylin Corsiato, who is by far and away the best loan originator on our team. She knows underwriting guidelines better than most underwriters. So we can definitely certify a certain level of expertise when it comes to your loan, offering top level service, definitely getting you to the closing table as soon as possible, but also really knowing our material, being able to really deliver on your loan and make sure that we get you to a comfortable place when it comes to monthly payment and total cash to close. Once again, want to hit home about the preferred mortgage savings plan. Almost $2,200 off of your mortgage towards closing costs. You get some very personal service, and it's not just for you, it's for your family members as well. And that brings us to the end of the presentation. I really want to thank everybody for coming out this afternoon on your lunch hour. I want to thank the fantastic speakers over at Northrop Realty, Craig and Rich. You guys are fantastic, top class realtors. So I really appreciate you taking the time this afternoon. And if you have any questions, please feel free to, unmute yourself right now, ask away. You can always drop any questions you might have in chat, and we can get to those here shortly. But yeah, once again, thank you so much for coming out, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Alex. Before everybody runs off, we do have some questions in the chat, and I'm sure a couple more will trickle in. There was one, Alex, I think this is directed to you, asking specifically about, are there any additional costs to buyers getting pre-qualified versus pre-approved?
Not at all. It's just how far down the mortgage process we move your file. We'd have to go down that road after we got a sales contract. So no additional cost at all. Great.
Okay. Another one that came through is regarding buyers writing letters to the seller. I've definitely heard that one too. Does that help at all, or is it really just all about the money?
Well, I'll throw that one over to Craig. He's very familiar with that.
Yes, I mean, the letters, obviously there's an emotional play to that, but right now, actually, Maryland has come down with not presenting them letters. So the letters really aren't, allowed to be presented. They just changed that there because they feel it's a discrimination kind of conversation. So as much as it was an emotional ideal, at this point, it's not allowed to be presented anymore. So it did just change through this market, by the way.
Yes, because of the letters that were being written and some of the things, that people were putting in there. But Blake, to your question, there's things that we can do in the offer that makes it speak louder than, a personal, note. And that's nothing about, any kind of discriminatory things or anything like that. But basically, all the things we kind of told you and all the tips and tricks that we're going to do for you, they definitely speak out louder. And just us picking up the phone and talking to the other agent. I mean, you wouldn't be surprised as I have my listings, as listing agents, that I get offers and that agent has never called me. They don't know anything about my seller. They haven't asked any questions. They haven't asked if they need a lease back, like what Craig talked about earlier, or, do they need to close as quickly as possible? And so it's really a disservice. I feel bad for some of the buyers when I see these offers come in, because I know they haven't had the same level of experience and service that, the Northrop Realty team, that we provide. And that's not just me saying that. I mean, I can say that wholeheartedly, being in the business for over 20 years, that literally, and it's such a simple thing of picking up the phone and talking to that other agent and just asking a few questions, anyway, that goes a long way. Thanks for the question, Blake.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great reason that I always, pick up the phone and call the listing agent as soon as an offer works its way over to them. Open up those lines of communication, talk you up, and really try to help your offer stand out.
Awesome. Thank you all. We had another question that came in about first-time home buyers. Do you know anything about income limits and current interest rates there?
Sure. So that is a complicated question. First-time homebuyer loan programs, when we're talking about those, we tend to be talking about grant programs offered through the state of Maryland. The Maryland Mortgage Program is probably the biggest player in that area. They have a variety of different programs. I think Rich touched on it earlier. They have one fantastic one that will help you pay off a portion of your student loan debt. So they have a lot of different programs, and for each of those different programs, there are different interest rates, different requirements, different income guidelines. So it's definitely on a case-to-case basis. If there's something you're interested in, please reach out to me. Love to answer any questions in particular. But that's a very sizable question with pretty sizable scope.
I know, I knew that was a tough one I was throwing you, but I can drop some links in the chat too. So I just pulled something up off of Northrop Realty's website too. And Alex, feel free to drop any helpful documents in the chat as well for starters. A question that came through, I think is for Craig and Rich about kind of like the broader real estate market with the impending lift on eviction moratoriums. Do you have any thoughts there?
Well,
Or Alex, you too.
yeah, I just made this, I talked to my brokerage today about this comment. Actually, it's kind of interesting with the moratoriums of forbearances. What it was, forbearances was a opportunity where they would defer your mortgage, not, it doesn't waive it, it defers it. And so that has come up, its time has come up. And now we have the largest REO agent in the state of Maryland that's starting to see his business pick up a lot because of this. Now, they're opening up. So you're going to see a lot more inventory coming on the market in that way. And I think it will change a little bit of the marketplace. So that this comment of that part of it is, if I'm a seller, I'm knowing this is lifted and July 1st, all the other COVID restrictions seem to be lifted. It's a great opportunity as a seller to take advantage of this now and not wait. And as a buyer, you're starting to see how it's going to start opening up for you a little more. So here's hope, here's good things for you, and just puts more inventory on the streets is what's going to happen.
And just add one thing, Craig, and to your point, this isn't going to happen overnight. The REO business was figured out in the early 2000s a bit. So, when these homes go into foreclosure or in pre-foreclosure, it takes a long time for them to go through a process. So it could be 1 to 2 years that we see a property, come on the market that has been foreclosed or vacant. What Craig and I were seeing in the past isn't necessarily the same that we're going to see now, but we would see houses that were empty for 3 or 4 years, believe it or not. And every loan is different on every single house, so we don't know what mortgage company it was and what, how much money they put down. Some are VA, some are FHA backed loans. So, I'm trying to tell my buyers to say, look, yes, we hope that the inventory is increasing, but that don't step out of the market and wait for that to come overnight, because it could take a while.
Good point.
Awesome, thank you. And last question here we have, how long does it take to complete an application, and will it hurt this person's credit score? Like that's a common one.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are 2 ways we can take an application, either over the phone, which takes 10 minutes, or there is a fantastic online application link that is rather robust. It'll go over a lot of details, and that probably takes anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. Speaking to credit inquiries, a mortgage inquiry, which is when I run your credit after an application is completed, does not affect your credit the same way as something like an auto loan inquiry or a credit card. It will ding your credit score. I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't, but it will be by less than 10 points, definitely. And it's one of the only credit inquiries that can be bundled according to the CFPB. So if you have, 2 or 3 inquiries in a span of, I believe it is 30 days, then it only counts as one. So it won't continue to ding your credit. So it does work a little bit differently, but applications very easy, and a hard credit inquiry will need to be done. Yes.
Hey, Alex, could you touch on the benefit of getting pre-approved with you? Because yes, it dings your credit, but tell them how long that pre-approval is current for.
It's current for 120 days until credit expires. So it lasts about 4 months. So you won't need to rerun credit again until after those 4 months are up. So it lasts definitely a long time. Yeah.
So the reason I said that is we get a lot of buyers that come in. They're like, well, I don't want to talk to a lender yet because I'm worried about hurting my credit. And, in this market, the way the homes are moving, if you haven't been pre-approved and want to go look at a home, there's really no chance that you're going to get that house. It could be the perfect house. So get pre-approved today. It lasts for, 3 to 4 months. And the benefit of it is, exactly the investment that you're going to need. And guess what? If we go out on a weekend, even if it's just to peruse and look, I've sold homes to people that looked at 1 to 2 homes and they found the perfect house. So you just never know. Get pre-approved, get informed, and let us help you,
Great advice, Rich. Call Rich to help you make it happen, right? Yeah, start the process. Love it.
And another great thing while we're talking about credits, nobody knows the ins and outs of the credit bureaus quite like a loan officer. We have all these fancy schmancy credit tools that can go, hey, you know, if I pay this credit card down, hey, if I open up a new credit card, you know, if I pay off this auto loan, what happens to my credit score? So when it comes to, you know, credit repair, if you're close to 700 and you want to get over that line before, you know, you go out looking for a house because the interest rates drops by a little bit, more than happy to have that conversation as well. That's something that I'm very good at, as well as my coworker, Kaylin, is an absolute pro. So we're definitely able to do that and work with you as well.
Excellent. Fantastic. And lastly, go Terps.
Oh my God, you beat me to it, Craig. I was going to give you an opportunity to close us out. So I will absolutely give you that opportunity. I just want to check any other final words or thoughts from Alex, Rich, or Craig before I ask Craig. Oh, go ahead. I think I hear someone trying to ask a question. Go ahead.
Can you tell me if you can provide a few tips for the seller who is approaching an appraisal to ensure that the appraisal is not low? And also one additional quick question, from your experience currently, are people tending to buy larger homes or more moderately medium priced homes?
Well, it's a twofold question. First and foremost, your agent, if you have an agent, there should be meeting the appraiser at the property. Make that very clear that if they're not doing that, they're not doing their job. So all Northrop agents are required to meet the appraisers to make sure that the value of the property is insured. We have floor plans and comps and everything. So that's my first advice. As for people buying houses, I think it's a combination. It's like the question, where do I want to quarantine next? Is it, do I want a larger house to quarantine? Do I want to size down a little bit? So I think both markets are kind of both sides, and you're seeing a lot of outdoor activities being accelerated, like lumber's up 37%, pools are up 150%. You're seeing a lot of that. We haven't lived in our houses. We lived in our houses more 1 year than we have in many years. So people are starting to look at housing differently. And I think that's part of why some are right sizing. I call it right sizing. Either way, they're right sizing is really the answer to that question.
I know personally, Craig, you know, my team and myself, we've seen a lot of buyers that are buying, and they're not necessarily they're not necessarily first-time buyers, but they don't currently own a home, or they're moving from out of state, so they're not necessarily adding inventory to the market. So we've seen an uptick of people that, for whatever reason, divorce or, you know, whatever, that we're seeing that, you know, they're coming in and you know, they're almost like a first-time buyer in the market. So it's interesting, which is good. And for a buyer, you know, contingencies, like if you have a home to sell, call us, we'll help you walk through it. And so you're not, you know, going to be contingent, because it's really, really tough to be contingent selling your home in this market. But does not mean that you're going to be counted out and you're not going to be able to purchase. So we're here to help you and explain the process, as Craig said.
Yep.
Great. Well, thank you all so much. I really appreciate all the wisdom you've shared with us today. And thanks to Alex and Cross Country Mortgage for really putting this together. And again, for Northrop Realty for joining us and sharing your wisdom. I really appreciate it. I will be sending the recording of this video out to anyone who registered, so you can look back on all the great things that we talked about today. And I will also share ways for you to get in touch with both Alex at Cross Country Mortgage and either Rich or Craig with Northrop Realty. So I will send that out all via email. Please let me know if you have any additional questions or follow-ups. And usually I close it out with a go Terps, but I think I'll pass that off to Craig to make that happen.
You gotta say Terps. You gotta say go Terps. That's how you end it, baby.
Yeah, that's why I handed it over to you, Craig. Thank you all so much, and hope everyone has a really great rest of your day. And go Terps.
Go Terps.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.